Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're back in AFK Journey, and in today's video I wanted to make an updated hero wish list because with the new season out in different game modes, for example Supreme Arena and also different Dream Realm bosses, I think it is important to be targeting different heroes compared to the previous wish list I made. And this wish list that we're making right now should be like basically the final version of a wish list that you can follow until maybe a new season comes out or maybe a major new game mode to earn rewards comes out. But I don't expect that to be happening in this current season. So let's begin with the all hero recruitment and we'll just work down the list. So for Lightbearer heroes, your A-level heroes you want to have are both going to be Corin and Merrily. You need to have them here until they're Supreme Plus, like maxed out like we have here. Only then would I recommend switching to other heroes. For example, Lucius is kind of good for Legend Trial. But really the reason we're having Merrily and Corin here is because these are key damage dealers for boss fights in the Dream Realm. And even though Corin I feel like has been a little bit replaced in the new season because you don't have space to run triple damage dealers in most teams, you need to run a more supportive team comp, at least in the early game stages. But either way, Corin is still a key hero. In Necrodraken, he's irreplaceable, he's the best damage option even as an early game team comp. And in I think end game of the new season, I do believe Corin is going to be used in more teams than he is currently. Either way, these are key damage dealers. You need to get them to Supreme Plus before you even think about switching them for anyone else. For the A-level heroes, to begin with, I will recommend having Temesia. And honestly, now here is a thing where I feel like to be efficient, you want to put heroes on your wish list, the S-level heroes, which are not purchasable from the shop. Because in the Emporium Arena shop, you will be able to buy heroes like Cassidy, Rowan, and even though these are key heroes for boss fights, the thing is, if you can buy them over time, it's better to have heroes in your all-hero recruitment wishlist who are really strong and powerful heroes, which you cannot obtain from anywhere else in the game other than through recruitments. And Vala fits that description. She's very good for PvP arena, and she is used on a lot of Supreme Arena defenses, even on offense, and so for that reason, I think she has a place here. Before in my previous wishlist, it was fully focused on PvE and Dream Realm, and it didn't really take into account Arena, because there was only really one Arena team you needed to build in the Standard Arena. But in Supreme Arena, because you need to build 3 teams, Vala will almost always have a place. And so I do recommend putting her on the wish list, and you can pick up Rowan and Cassidy from the Emporium, the Arena shop. And really, you just need one copy of Rowan to be able to push certain AFK stages. And yeah, Rowan is basically a PvE oriented hero, although he does have PvP uses as well. But I think it is important also to have Temesia here because she cannot be obtained in the Arena shop. She is a key hero to be used in the Necrodraken Dream Realm boss, and maybe after that in the future she will also be good for other boss battles, but right now she's really only needed for Necrodraken. But still, that's enough of a reason for you to put it here, because if you don't have her, your team is going to be a lot weaker, and that can cause you to lose out on some Temporal Essence rewards. So Temesia until Mythic Plus, you can maybe switch her out after Mythic Plus, and Vala probably until Supreme Plus for your Arena team. Rowan would then be the next best option, like if you don't want to run these heroes, or maybe you don't want to go for Temesia and you can go for a little bit of a weaker Necrodraken team, then you can swap Temesia with Rowan, but I would probably keep Vala on here. And Rowan, yeah, because he is a really good hero and you want to get him ascended, but the thing is, because he's purchasable from the shop, I feel like if you're putting him on your hero wish list, it's going to delay getting your S-level heroes, which are not purchasable from the shop. Now for the Mauler heroes. So for the Mauler heroes, you have to have Odie here until he's Supreme Plus. He gets a big damage boost at Supreme Plus. And along with him, I recommend putting Coco. Coco is so good in the new season because all the Dream Realm bosses deal a lot of damage, and you need her to keep your team alive, especially in Lone, Gaze, and Alpha Bear. She is one of the best heroes you can be running in your team, and if you don't have her, your team is going to get off much less damage. And you wanted to get it to Mythic Plus because at Mythic Plus she gets a useful shield for your team after her ultimate wears off, which is very good. Kruger is good as a debuffer, but you only need one copy of him, and the other heroes, Antandra is good for pushing AFK stages, but again, you only need one copy of her and she can function, and I think even through the normal playthrough of the game, they do give you some free copies of Antandra. Now for Mauler heroes, you're going to want to have Shakira and Smokey. Smokey is the key healer for almost all Dream Realm boss fights. He can also be used in Supreme Arena. I use him on my Supreme Arena defense. And so overall, he's just a great hero. You want to get him maxed out Supreme Plus, but really the key point you want to hit him at is Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus is when he gets his blue aura, which begins dealing massive damage even to bosses. So that is why you really want to get him to Mythic Plus. Shakira is a key boss hero for 2 bosses, but mainly he's the best in slot only in Snow Stomper, but he's the best one there. And just like Temesia, they're very similar. I think Shakira and Temesia are very similar in their roles. They are good for bosses, but they're only actually the best in slot hero to be run in one specific boss fight. Temesia in Necro Drake and Shakira in Snow Stomper. Other than that, it's actually better not to run them and run other heroes as long as the other heroes are ascended enough. But if they're not ascended enough, for example, Shakira and Temesia always will be a good part of Dream Realm boss teams. Also, they both have a pretty good showing in PvP. Like for Mauler oriented teams, Shakira is really good and Temesia does well in Lightbearer teams or with Vala. She does have good PvP use, and I run Temesia on my Supreme Arena defense. I also run Shakir. So both of these heroes can have decent PvP uses. They're best in slot for one specific Dream Realm boss, even as an endgame team. And that's why they're also not obtainable from the shop. So you want to keep them here until they are Mythic Plus at least, but even eventually Supreme Plus I would recommend, but Mythic Plus is what you're shooting for. Brutus can be purchased from the arena shop, and you only need 1 copy of him to push AFK stages. The other Mauler heroes here are nothing amazing. Eventually you can work on them, and that's what I'm working on now that I have Shakir and Smokey maxed, but these are not priorities. Now going for Wilder. So for Wilder, these 2 heroes, Arden and Damien, are going to be the 2 heroes you want to keep from the beginning, and you want to get them to Supreme Plus because they're part of your Iron Nuke team, which is good for PvP, so arena. Like the non-seasonal arena is good as a defense and also offense, and also it is, they are really good in Supreme Arena, and they're good now for pushing AFK stages, like the Iron Nuke team, which is Thorin, Carolina, Iron, Damien, Arden. This is my go-to auto-farming team to auto-battle to AFK stages, and I'm able to push really well with that, and you don't have to worry about it. You can just let the team auto battle, but of course you will need the levels as well. Like it's not like this team can just clear out a huge level deficit, but yeah, it's good for AFK stage pushing. It's really good for Supreme Arena, regular arena, and so definitely Damien and Arden are key PvP heroes. The other heroes here in the A-levels are not too amazing, so they're not even that much of a priority. You can only work on them after you have Damien and Arden both at Supreme Plus, and even then, I would keep going for Damien copies to get him to Paragon 1, because Damien is going to be a key here, even Arden. Both of these are key heroes, even in Supreme Arena endgame comps, and you want to then have Paragon on your heroes. So at the end of this video, I need to try to remember to tell you guys about Paragon, because once you have most heroes at maxed with Supreme Plus, then you need to think about which heroes you want to get to Paragon. The short of it is the heroes which do well in PvP, those are the heroes you want to go for Paragon. There's no point of going Paragon on a hero which is has mainly PvE uses, like for example Core and Merrily. These are boss killers, but they have hardly no arena use. So if you go for Paragon on them, they get a 2.5% stat bonus, but the reason you go for Paragon is not for that stat bonus, it's for the rivalry bonus stats, which are specific to arena only, where the heroes gain like a damage boost and damage reduction, and they have like bonus energy regeneration and things like that, resilience. So those stats are only really good for PvP. They're only actually effective or active in PvP, and so Paragon is only for PvP heroes. Now for the A-level heroes, Iron should always be here because he can be obtained from the shop. He's a key part of Supreme Arena, regular, non-seasonal arena, and he is good for AFK stage pushing. He's just a really, really good hero for even pushing at a level deficit. He's one of the key heroes people use if you look at the teams. And the other one I recommend here is Floribel. Before Floribel was out, Haywin would be the option, but Haywin and Granny, they're both great heroes. They're good in Supreme Arena. They're also good for certain stage pushing AFK stages. However, the thing is, they are purchasable from the shop, and if they're purchasable from the shop, better to just get them from the shop, because over time, you're going to earn enough arena currency to max them out. The heroes which are going to be limited are going to be the ones which cannot be purchased from the shop, which are Vala and Floribel, Temesia, Shakira, basically all the heroes we have on here so far. And that's what your wish list should look like. It should look like heroes which cannot be purchased from the shop, which are also good. Floribel is decent and pretty good on Supreme Arena defense. She can be used on offense. She is good for AFK stage pushing. She is a really good PvE hero and also very viable PvP. And that's why she's a really good option here. Then for the Graveborn. So Graveborn to start off with, you're going to have Viperion and Sylvina. Viperion, Viperion I don't really use that much. I use him on my Supreme Arena defense, but I mean, even if I had Nero in place of him, I don't think it would change my defense success rate that much. So Viperion, I mean, I think the reason people put him here is to max him out, and he's good in battle drills. He deals good damage in battle drills. But apart from that, I mean, it really is up to preference who you put along with Sylvina. But you have to have Sylvina here, because right now I'm not using Sylvina really that much. But she is a great assassin, and if you get her ascended to Supreme Plus and you get a bit of exclusive equipment investment, she can become a really good hero to use on PvP for arena offense, Supreme Arena offense, and even can be used on Supreme Arena defense if you want. But assassins generally, like, I mean, Sylvina is not the best option because the opponent can, like, rearrange their heroes so that a tank tanks out Sylvina, and then she's much less effective. But the same can be said about Vala, and they're still both viable on defense, but Sylvina is not the greatest on defense. Either way, she's the greatest Graveborn A-level hero to have here, and then along with her either Viperion or Nero. Once you have one of them maxed out, then switch it for the other one to try and get more Supreme Plus heroes, because you're going to need 25 Supreme Plus heroes to begin ascending to Paragon. But I'm keeping Sylvina here so that we can get copies of her so she can get to Paragon 1 as quickly as possible, because she is, in my opinion, the best A-level Graveborn PvP hero. So Paragon for that. Now for Graveborn. Now the heroes I have here right now on actually a part of my wish list, they are the ones you're going to want from the beginning as well. Doran and Carolina. Both cannot be obtained from the shops. Doran is overall one of the best heroes in the game because he's amazing in arena. So like for your non-seasonal arena, a lot of people run him on defense and offense. He is great for Supreme Arena, of course. If a hero is good in non-seasonal arena, when there's only one team involved, definitely they will have a place in Supreme Arena where 3 teams have to be built. So he's great for that. He's really key in Dream Realm bosses. Now with the new season, because you need survivability on your team, he is the best option in almost every team. He also has a Soul Plunder effect to increase the damage that the boss receives, so that's like a major debuff to increase your damage dealt. So in almost every way, Doran is just an amazing hero all over the game. So if I had to rate one hero as the best hero in the game, it's probably Doran. Like other than maybe OD, but like if we're talking about S level heroes, Doran is probably the best hero in the game because he just has AFK stage pushing, non-seasonal arena, seasonal arena, Supreme Arena, Dream Realm bosses. It's just almost everything. And Carolina is kind of like Iron. They are good for the nuke team for non-seasonal arena. They're great in Supreme Arena defense and offense. And Carolina is good for AFK stage pushing. So for all of these reasons, and because she can't be purchased from the shop, you should have her from the beginning in your wish list. Now this is how it changes, because you might be thinking, well, Cicia is good for pushing early game, but you only need one copy of Cicia and she can push. And you get the guaranteed after your first 10 times recruit. Like ascending Cicia, it feels like you're doing a lot of good stuff by ascending her and she's improving a lot, but her stats don't, like, it's mainly the stat boost you're getting. The effect of Legendary Plus is pretty nice for getting the bonus haste, like I think haste and attack speed, and also onto her Mr. Carlisle. So I think Legendary Plus is like a good place to get her, but you can purchase her from the arena shop. You just have to be more patient with that. And so I do not recommend putting her on your Graveborn wishlist because, again, late game, she does not have a place in, Cicia doesn't have a place in Supreme Arena, regular non-seasonal arena. Like, you can use her for the time being, like I'm using her on my Supreme Arena defense, but if we're talking about a fully late game team comp which you're shooting for, Cicia is not great in PvP compared to other heroes you can be running. And so that is the reason why I do not recommend putting her on your wish list, and just for the fact that she can be purchased from the shop. But I do understand if you want to get like a bit of ascension on Cicia, maybe even a bit of ascension on Rowan, and then you could opt for a wish list like this. This is more of a balanced wish list where you have a little bit of PvE focus, not completely focused on those heroes which are not obtainable from the shop, because you can get some copies of Rowan and Cicia in order to ascend them a bit and help your PvE, like your AFK stage pushing. But I do But if you want to be completely optimal, I think that it is better to only have heroes here which are not obtainable from the shops, which are also quite viable, which are, for example, Vala and Carolina. So I think if we look here, let me just sum it up. This is going to be the wish list that you want to put, in my opinion. I think this is the best possible wish list you can have here, and you're going to keep this wish list like this until you have the S-level heroes at Mythic Plus, and the heroes which are going for PvP focus, mainly Vala, Floribel, Carolina, Thorin, Iron, you want to get them to Supreme Plus, because if you're going for PvP, you need to give them as many stats as possible, and so Supreme Plus is really important. Floribel as well. Smokey can be stopped at Mythic Plus, but again, if you use him, and I use him, and a lot of people use him in Supreme Arena defense, so Supreme Plus for him, and Shakir as well, Supreme Arena defense, so Supreme Plus for them. So this is basically what is my recommended hero wish list. Let's quickly talk about Paragons before we go to the Epic Hero Recruitment. So for Paragons, like we said, they should be PvP heroes. And I'm just going to crit out of here and not save the changes, and show you the heroes I have on my recruitment list. Even though I'm far away from getting Paragon, because I have like 12 heroes at Supreme Plus, I'm going to need 25. In the long run, we're going to get those heroes to Supreme Plus, like especially with all the A-levels we have on our wish list here, and buying from the arena shop to get like Haywin, Granny, things like that to Supreme Plus. We're going to get the 25 Supreme Plus. So we're beginning to stockpile copies of Iron, Thorin, Carolina, Damien, and even Sylvina in order to get them to Paragon 1 as quickly as possible, because you're going to need 6 copies of each of them to upgrade them to Paragon 1, and so that is going to take a long time. And so the key heroes, which are some of the best for PvP, which are Iron, Thorin, and Carolina, they should always be on your wish list even after they're maxed. Keep them there. It is important because you're going to need those copies for Paragon, and you need to shoot for Paragon because in the future you will get 25 Supreme Plus heroes. It's just a matter of time, and then you're going to need the 6 copies of these heroes. And then the same, so Floribel and Vala, keep them on here even after the max, in my opinion, because they're key PvP heroes and you'll want to get them to Paragon 1. Now let's look at the Epic Hero Recruitment. So on this list, in my opinion, in the early game, there can be different options you have here, but usually Thorin should always be here, even when he's maxed. Iron should always be here, even when he's maxed. Carolina, in my opinion, should always be here, even when she's maxed, because she's a key hero to use on Supreme Arena and regular non-seasonal arena. However, I do understand in the early game, you need other heroes. Like, for example, the 3 other heroes you need here, which cannot be purchasable from the shops, are these 3. So this hero recruitment wishlist that I have set up right now, this is probably the ideal one until you get Smokey, Shakir, or Tamesia to Mythic Plus or even Supreme Plus. Then you can swap out for Carolina. But the problem with running a hero recruitment wishlist like this is you're really going to delay, most likely, your Carolina copies. And in the early game, the faster you can get Carolina to Mythic Plus, the faster you're able to rank in maybe top 100 of the non-seasonal arena and even do well in Supreme Arena. But mainly, getting the Carolina to Mythic Plus along with your Damien, Arden, Thorin, Iron, this is your team you're going to be shooting for in order to have on defense and offense to rank high in the non-seasonal arena to begin generating more arena coins and yeah, get into the champion arena. But it is fine to delay that progress because you're still going to get decent coins even before that. However, I don't know. I really feel like Carolina has to have a place on this wish list. And so honestly, what I would probably recommend is do something like this. And Tamesia you can gradually get from the all hero recruitment wish list, but it is going to delay your effective Necrodraken team. I feel like if you have to choose, it's really you're choosing between Shakir and Tamesia until these heroes are Mythic Plus. When you get Smokey or Shakir to Mythic Plus, you can swap for one of the other ones you don't have here. Mythic Plus is really all they need to be effective. Like the Supreme Plus of Shakir is a completely PvP oriented skill. It's no effect, it doesn't have any useful effect in the Dream Realm, and mainly you're using him for the Snowstomper Dream Realm. That's why you're building him. And but yeah, okay, so yeah, about this, I feel like Carolina, Iron, Thorin should always be here, even when they're max. Keep them here for Paragon 1. And like if we look at my wish list that I have right now, it is still, we have Thorin, Iron, and Carolina at maxed, and then we have the other PvP heroes, Val and Floribel. Val and Floribel you want to swap on here as soon as you can, because they're key for PvP and they can be purchased from the shops. So as soon as you have like your Smokey, Shakira and Tunisia at Mythic Plus at least, then you can begin swapping for Vala and Floribel. But before that, don't swap for it, because basically if we have to rate them, Dorian Carolina, Iron are S tier, and Vala and Floribel are A tier for PvP. So the S tier PvP heroes you'll just always want to be here. But Vala, Floribel, you don't need to focus them so much. You can work on them after you have your PvE heroes sorted, which are Tunisia, Shakira, and Smokey, because that will give you more returns basically, getting those heroes built up. But anyway guys, that's going to be it for this wish list guide. Finally, if you're talking about this basically limited time banner, save your tickets. I didn't save my tickets because sometimes you summon and you want some extra A-level hero copies, so that's why I was kind of doing it. And if you have only 3 more to go, or like you have a certain number left to go, don't feel like you have to rush and do it before it resets. I am almost positive this carries over to the next banner, because I had it happen before, and like I'm pretty sure it carries over to the next banner, so you don't have to worry about that. Like rush to get your only 3 more left because it might reset to 40 once you get to the next. I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 99.9% sure, because I'm pretty sure it happened to me before Elsa. Like we had 28 to go or something on the Floribel banner, and then there was still 28 to go on the Elsa banner. Anyway, so save it, because there is eventually going to be a hero released here who is going to be really overpowered. Elsa does not fit that description. She's fine, but she is not like by any means one of the most needed heroes for your account. Like honestly, I still don't think her coming into the wishlist pool is going to change much of anything. Apart from maybe I would prioritize over Brutus, because Brutus can be obtained from the shop, so you could swap Brutus out for Elsa, something like that. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and let me know what your opinions are of this in the comment section down below. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, because we're trying to upload daily AFK journey content for guides for your progression. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, everyone, peace out for now.